Welcome to today's Explainer. One of the most common questions we hear from business decision makers and IT directors is simply, how much is a vulnerability assessment actually going to cost me? And hey, it's a totally fair question. Today, we're demystifying that exact cost. We're going to break down a really comprehensive, incredibly detailed pricing analysis from the experts over at Atlant Security. It's a fantastic source that really pulls back the curtain on cybersecurity pricing, so let's just dive right into it.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the big cost question, look at what drives the price, peek inside the assessment itself, break down the actual costs, talk about hidden costs and ROI, and finally, wrap up with choosing your security partner.
All right, Section 1, the big cost question.
How much is a vulnerability assessment going to cost me? It is completely understandable to want a quick, easy answer to this. You're dealing with constrained budgets, and you just need a number to drop into a spreadsheet, right? But the reality is, demanding a single, flat figure right out of the gate is kind of like asking your doctor, hey, how much does health cost? It's just impossible to answer accurately without trivializing a really complex process. There are so many variables involved that giving you a blind ballpark figure just wouldn't be honest.
But the baseline math? That's actually pretty simple. Alexander Sverdlov, the author of the Atlant Security article we're looking at, points out that for a standard assessment, say covering Microsoft 365 or Google Workspaces and mapping to NIST 853 compliance, pricing really just comes down to a fundamental formula. It's the firm's hourly rate multiplied by the time it takes to audit your specific infrastructure. If they work 10 hours, well, they bill you for 10 hours. If it's 50 hours, you get billed for 50. In fact, if a provider gives you a flat price on their website without actually calculating the time required to complete your specific project, you should be very skeptical of that. Moving on to Section 2, what drives the price?
So why do these estimates range wildly from, say, $5,000 to well over $100,000? Well, it boils down to four main variables. First, the size of your business. A 10-person startup obviously has vastly different needs than a global enterprise. Second, industry regulations. If you're dealing with stringent data privacy, healthcare, or payment regulations, think GDPR, HIPAA, or PCI DSS, expect much more rigorous standards and, naturally, higher costs. Third is the depth of the assessment. Do you just need a simple scan, or are we talking a full red team simulation where hackers actively try to break in? And fourth, internal versus external teams. External assessments give you that unbiased rigor, but for sure, they cost more than just using your own staff.
Section 3. Inside the assessment.
First up, we have vulnerability scanning. This is your absolute baseline. Think of this like the cybersecurity version of a regular health checkup. It relies mostly on automated tools to sweep your network and identify known soft spots that cybercriminals just love to exploit. Now, it doesn't go incredibly deep, but it is highly effective at catching obvious issues and low-hanging fruit before they can morph into major, critical problems.
Next is penetration testing, or pen testing for short. This is where things get much more hands-on. Instead of an automated scan, you're hiring ethical, white-hat hackers to actively try and breach your system. It is literally like hiring a professional to break into your house so you can find out exactly where your locks are the weakest. A well-done pen test is targeted, sophisticated, and catches those complex vulnerabilities that automated scans easily miss.
But wait, there's more to it. A comprehensive assessment is also going to include these elements. Risk assessments help you evaluate potential impacts, which, by the way, is absolutely crucial for justifying cybersecurity expenses to your higher-ups. Compliance audits ensure you aren't violating industry laws, helping you dodge some brutal regulatory fines. Then there's policy and procedure review, because let's face it, the best tech in the world can be completely undone by simple human error. And finally, incident response preparedness. This ensures you have a concrete plan to minimize damage if an attack actually succeeds. You're paying for a complete diagnostic of your organization's resilience.
All right, Section 4, breaking down the costs.
You can probably self-identify your cost bracket right here. At the entry level, small businesses with simple networks are usually looking at $3,000 to $10,000. That buys you baseline scanning, light pen testing, and a basic risk assessment. As you grow into a mid-sized company with more endpoints, more employee laptops, servers, devices, and just a broader attack surface, the cost moves to that $10,000 to $50,000 range. Here, you're getting deeper pen tests and those vital compliance audits. And finally, for large enterprises, the price tag jumps to $50,000 to well over $150,000.
I do want to linger on that high end of the spectrum for just a second, $150,000 plus. Why is it so expensive? Well, massive, multi-country enterprises have incredibly complex architectures. When your business spans multiple continents and industries, you have to cover all your bases. That means bringing in top-tier, premium cybersecurity firms to conduct deep, unrelenting penetration tests, comprehensive policy reviews, and exhaustive incident response planning. The scale completely dictates the price.
Section 5. Hidden Costs and ROI. So, here's an absolutely crucial point. You have to budget for what happens after the assessment. Finding the holes in your security is literally only step one. Now you actually have to fix them. You need to budget for remediation services, which means paying the IT hours to actually patch systems and update software. Then you'll likely need follow-up assessments to ensure the fixes actually worked. And finally, employee training. If the assessment reveals your staff has poor security habits, you're going to need to spend money training them so they don't accidentally invite the hackers right back in.
When you add up the assessment and those hidden costs, you might be staring down a pretty hefty number. But compare your assessment cost to the cost of a breach. A successful data breach or ransomware attack is going to cost your business millions in downtime alone. Add in the brutal regulatory fines and the absolute destruction of customer trust, and it's a full-blown catastrophe. Investing in a vulnerability assessment right now could save you a literal fortune in the long run. The ROI here is survival.
And finally, Section 6. Choosing your security partner. The market is completely saturated, so how do you actually choose the right fit? Well, follow these 4 steps. 1. Verify industry experience. Do they know the unique challenges of your specific sector? 2. Check their reputation and ask around for referrals. 3. Ensure customization. Cybersecurity is absolutely not one-size-fits-all, so run far away from any provider offering a cookie-cutter solution. And 4. Demand post-assessment support. A good partner doesn't just hand you a scary report and walk away. They stick around, help you implement the recommendations, and make sure you stay secure over time.
We've talked about the hourly rates, the difference between a scan and a pen test, the varying price tiers, and the reality of those sneaky hidden costs. But when you really weigh the upfront investment of a vulnerability assessment against the catastrophic financial and reputational ruin of a data breach, well, the real question isn't how much it costs. The question is, can your business afford not to get one? Thank you so much for joining this explainer. Keep asking the right questions and stay secure out there.